Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you my 2 cents about the news everybody's been talking about. As you know, I typically don't talk Space Marines. Really don't care about them. And I know I actually don't know what I'm titling this or what I put on the thumbnail yet. But I know people would probably expect me to be more angry. About the Space Marine change. If you haven't heard somehow, basic warriors are becoming strength 5. They're moving up to toughness 5, and then there's another whopping strength 6. Yada yada yada. Space Marines across the board getting buff heretic Astartes and Codex divergent chapters as well. All right. Um, Only wanted to talk a little bit about this because I will be revisiting this for Tyranid specifically. Um, And I believe, was it in here? But Terminator bodies should be moving up to T6 and Phobos stay at T4, but get a movement boost to 8 inches and things like that. Um, as a non-Space Marine player, right? I don't play Heretic Astartes nor Adeptus Astartes, right? I guess I should have said that the other way around. Either way, I don't hate it. I don't hate this change actually. Um, Do I have sympathy for you power arming hicks? No, can't say I do. Um, where I'm just like, yeah, they should be buff the Marines. What is it? Never going to hear me say that. But for the setting, I understand some things. The only portion of this that I really want to tackle, that I will be reiterating later, is that, like, hey, points disparity should be greater. Yes, I know that they're going to increase the units or increase the cost of units to take them and list. Um, right, with this change, I understand that. But I think that's a two-way street that should be both increasing them and lowering things that aren't them per se. To create a bigger disparity because there's only so much you can do with 2,000 points. Just because Codex Space Marines, a Marines player of any variety, might have one or two less units, that doesn't necessarily completely offset the difference in strength, right? So what I mean is, for example, talking Tyranids really quick. Um, If yeah, I agree. An intercessor squad probably should be able to handle a 10 mana gaunts and a prime with lash whip. Now, if you tell me the prime with lash whip gets to, kick flipping and karate chopping motherfuckers, yeah, no, that's sick, right? I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, like I think that makes sense to say that okay, it is harder for Hormagaunts to clear this unit, right? Like they instead of wounding on fours, um, right? Wounding on threes, we'll go into four. Look at me. Let me double check something. Because they were, yeah, but let's double check. Let's double check. Yeah, so in Synapse, instead of wounding them on fours, uh, wounding them on fives in Synapse, you know, make it even worse. Okay. Um, I agree. I agree that yeah, they should be able to each take a couple of gaunts to the face. If I send a 20 man at them, that's not terribly efficient for me to pick up 5 dudes in power armor, right? But I should say that it should be that war of attrition that's desired. I just hope, and I'm only talking Tyranids in that aspect because that's the faction I know the best, but I don't necessarily mean that across the board. Like Necrons, I feel, should probably get the Space Marine treatment in some way. um, where they're damn near custodies, except for the Immortals and the Warriors, the Necron Warriors. Probably just the Necron Warriors, really. But they should get the same treatment where, yeah, it should take a bit to take them down. However, I would like to see armies like Guard, Tyranids, uh, the expendable, units. What is expendable? The expendable units, um, getting like a sizable. Hey, yeah, the Intercessor Squad can take your 10 man pretty handedly. They can take it on the chin. But there should be quite the points difference. Whereas, like, hey, this Intercessor Squad, we bumped it up, say 20 points. But the Gaunts, the Guard, whoever, when it comes around to making changes in the game, they should also be like 20 points cheaper, if not more. That way you're looking at, yeah, they took them on the chin, but we're looking at a disparity of 40-ish points for these units. So that means that I can actually start supplying for another of this unit to try to throw into that unit. That's all I really want to see here. Um, yes, the wounds that I'm going to go over for Tyranid specifically, or plan to. We'll see what happens, I guess. Um, does make things funky. It does make a lot of things funky, but I agree with this design choice. I think this is where things should go. As long as you apply logic both ways, right? But the thing that I really wanted to come down to was this. Now, I, again, not an Adeptus Astartes player. I don't, do I own any Space Marines at this point? I don't think I do. Um, don't think I have a Space Marine lying around that I don't know about. That I know about, I should say, around here. I don't think so. Either way, point I say to all of this is this whole legending situation, mainly this section, because saw a video. Um, I usually I would pull up the channel, but I didn't think this far, and I don't want to accidentally show a thing because I didn't plan this far. But it was by Chaos Lord Beard. You probably have seen him. And I try not to mention too many other channels often, but there's two channels on this discussion, Chaos Lord Beard, and uh, Paul is bad at stuff. Um, because it was interesting about the things that have left. Beard had predicted a fair number of these, if I remember correctly, and I was like, "There's no way that they get rid of these." I just didn't think that they would do it, that they would actually do it. And they did. And that is kind of wild to me because of the 11th edition launch, where we just kept finding out about, oh, this orc unit, this orc unit, this orc unit. Look at that. There's this orc unit coming out. Oh, look at this thing. Orc unit, orc unit, orc unit. And I figured that was because they realized with their campaign situation that Space Marines were just going to win, so every week you unveil another fucking Space Marine. But what are these replacements? And I think all of this leaving, and this too, like, what does this say when Pedro Cantor and Euro Ventress are now counting as captains? I do like this change where they're like, hey, you can use tactical squads as intercessors, devastators, desolation, yada yada, right? I do like this. I do like that they thought through this part. I just couldn't believe that they actually did this, and I do feel bad for Paul with the Centurions, which at the same time, I do wonder about what GW's plans and schemes are where they have to be aware of him, and they have to be aware of content creators as a whole. I would imagine because they've invited right table play on tabletop and tabletop titans uh to do things right. They've invited people for things and Art of War right. They've invited people for things, but I would imagine that some of these content creators that are getting pretty good views are offsetting cost of things that you're not printing that much, but that's just my guess because I don't know how many Centurions a year GW is planning on printing, or why they don't just move to a model of print to order, right? Order to print situation for some of the units that I guess were taking up too much of it. I just can't believe it's like surely this one content creator has increased your Centurion stocks and sales drastically, right? Look at Bricky, and I'm like, man, you're telling me he's never gotten a kickback? That's crazy. Um, so as far as like things getting legend, it really does remind you that a lot of your shit can be on the chopping block. And I know, here comes the discussion of it's in legends, so that doesn't mean that it's like just dead. But realistically, right? Let's take a second to be real. I think most people say it with the context of when you stop updating the rules for something, power creep kills it, right? Um, so that's just like an official stamp of hey, this thing will be power crept. However, I do want to go on the other side of this and say, effectively, a lot of things are dead in the Codex already. I look at Tyrant Guard that still have a shit rule, like we're taking them because they're Centurion style bodies. They're big bodied motherfuckers that happen to have an interaction in a detachment because they're infantry. Um, and you go, hey, this. Sorry, that was my alarm for something. You go, hey, this isn't really getting support the way that I would like it to. So we delude ourselves and think that things that currently are in the Codex still have a chance um, to be updated when effectively they've been dead for a long time. Right? Now, mind you, usually only 3 years at a time because each Codex, yada yada yada. But if a unit goes through an entire edition without getting an update, what's the difference from it being Legends? And I really thought that they wouldn't do these, mainly because, well, I thought the Whirlwind and the Razorback because of Grey Knights. I was like, they wouldn't stop doing that. Grey Knight players, what about them? Um, but the Dreadnought is crazy, right? Centurions, yeah, I guess people saw that one coming. I can't speak to experience. My only interaction with Centurions is watching Paul's videos. I didn't know these motherfuckers existed. But yeah, this is an odd situation. And this part I will have some sympathy on because coming to this, it seems like they're trying to make these better while saying like, hey, you don't have a lot of bulk anymore in this aspect of it, right? This is taking a lot of chunk out of list by removing these. Not a lot of lists. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that everybody was running this Storm Raven fucking gunship, but I think, enough lists were running Base Dreadnought for the everyday player that you kind of have to do something like this. So it's just interesting. It is interesting that everything is on the chopping block, more or less, right? I don't remember which kit it was that somebody said was only a couple of years old, like 2020 or something like that. Um, but that's also crazy. It's like, hey, that's just a little over an edition lifespan. Oh, they only made about to make two. I just thought this change was kind of wild, and I wanted to give my thoughts on it. Like, hey, I guess yeah, legends can take anybody they want, and this change I don't mind, as long as it shakes out evenly across factions. But they don't have a great track record for that, so we'll see. But I remain optimistic this time. If you like the video, like it. Got a comment from me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.